Welcome to Put It to the Test, the podcast taking the best evidence for positive lifestyle change and testing it real time, week by week. My name is Cameron Suter, here with my father, Derek Suter, and together our hope is to encourage and inspire you on your journey to lifelong health.
There are endless approaches to health. Finding the best path forward can feel overwhelming, I know. Instead of wading through the sea of restrictive diets and exercise programs, let's try something different. What if there is a way to not only lose weight, but to gain a lifestyle that allows for sustained, ongoing, and ever-increasing well-being? I'm going to put it to the test. This podcast chronicles my own journey with the support of my son to adopt a truly healthy lifestyle.
So join us as we discuss the factors that play into health from an easily digestible layman's perspective. All things from habits and mindsets to nutrition and exercise. And with that, let's get started. All right, well, it's good to be back. Thought we might just jump in and give a little bit of an update as to how our past couple of weeks have gone, especially regarding health, in case there was maybe a new recipe we tried or a new exercise we tried. So I'll start out. I actually got the opportunity to work out with a couple friends at a park. One of the guys has a good amount of gym equipment, so he brought some really heavy 100-pound sand sacks. I don't know what to call it. Also, like some different barbell exercises that we could do. And we did a team workout that was high intensity circuit work, sort of like CrossFit, to where we would have to do a certain number of exercises as a team, like 100 pull-ups as a team. It was exhausting.
So do you feel like you'd been through boot camp?
Oh my gosh, a times and a half. Because I went into it thinking, I go to the gym frequently, I lift weights, I should be pretty good. But it was a very humbling experience because it was a very different type of workout than just doing individual muscle groups at the gym. The high intensity work really kicked my butt and I was super sore afterward. But it also kind of felt good.
So what did you take away from that as far as what you would want to achieve and do for yourself in the future, fitness-wise, exercise-wise?
Yeah, it really highlighted to me that what I considered cardio for myself is maybe lower cardio than some of the exercises I could be doing, because for me, cardio might look like doing the elliptical for 20 minutes or so at a moderate intensity, and that felt pretty good. But getting your heart rate really high for a prolonged period of time, even though we only worked out in this way for maybe 20, 30 minutes, it felt really different. So it taught me that there's a more intense style of workout that might actually build more strength and endurance than I'm used to. Because there's different types of strength you can build, whether that's actual muscle size, the inherent strength within your muscle, or how long that muscle can go. And I definitely saw a deficit in my endurance, so that might be something I focus on moving forward.
From a lifestyle perspective, what benefit would you see from altering your present lifestyle of the fitness level you're at? What would you see the benefit to you changing that up to go to a more intense workout regimen? What would be the benefit to you long term? Would this add anything beneficial to your lifestyle that's not there already? Where do you see that going?
Yeah, that's a good question. On one hand, I see a very pragmatic use of it in that being able to do higher intensity work for a longer duration, it would give me the greater ability to do any labor that I might need to do. Like say I do a move from an apartment into a house or something like that, being able to lift safely without hurting my back or
Sure.
whatever it is for a longer period of time would just make that process easier.
Right.
But then from a health perspective,
And it would also make the likelihood of an injury less
yeah,
as well,
yeah.
which I know you've experienced those type of things in
I
the
have.
past too, and that you're addressing those. So it seems that by doing certain strengthening exercises, that you would possibly prevent some sort of injury too.
Absolutely. And honestly, that's a huge reason to do those type of workouts in the first place. There are different kind of zones of cardio that people will describe, and I'm not entirely sure on the parameters of each zone. But there are definitely benefits to getting regular bouts of zone 2 and 3 cardio, which refers to a certain duration that your heart is at a higher beats per minute for a time. And that's just really good for your heart health. And there's some cool studies to support
Sure.
that.
And those are some of the things that I need to start bringing into my new lifestyle is that exercise component that's
Right.
going to help strengthen my heart and help strengthen my muscles as well. And maybe you can speak into this a little bit and something I'm concerned about and people who are switching over from a meat-based diet to a vegan and or plant-based vegetarian diet. There's a concern of a loss of muscle mass
Sure.
because of a reduced protein intake or a different protein source. Those are the things that I'm concerned with. Not that I had a lot of muscle mass to begin with, but I'm being very conscious of this moving forward.
Right.
And for the sake of my own health, what do you see concerns moving forward, starting an exercise program? And what would I need to be aware of as far as attempting to build muscle mass to help
Mm-hmm.
improve my health overall?
Yeah, that's a really deep subject, and I think it actually might be cool to we could address a whole topic of a podcast to that, and maybe some of the myths surrounding plant-based diets, because protein intake is certainly one of them. Being able to achieve easily the amount of protein you need on a plant-based diet to not only provide for your everyday bodily needs, but also to build stronger muscles is something that's definitely possible, if not easy, once you learn the different sources of protein that are available to you. Because a lot of times we might think in terms of meat and dairy. I mean, a lot of people do like whey protein supplements. But in my experience, I've been able to get more than adequate amounts of protein from just whole plant food sources, not even using vegan protein powders that have been really helpful for me. But I want to ask you as well, is there anything new that you've tried the past couple weeks, food or exercise related, that's been noteworthy for you?
Recently, a new food that we have tried, we actually found a very good plant based burrito wrap
Mm,
available at the grocery store. Just because we're sort of getting into this new vegan lifestyle, vegetarian plant based food, and exploring our options. And that was one of the things that we enjoyed where was wraps, although we were purchasing the traditional flour-based wraps. We found one that is plant-based, 50 calories only, which in
mm,
a wrap is very low. Typically, wraps have more calories in them than a slice of bread.
hmm,
This had only 50 calories, completely clean, completely vegan based. So we were very pleased with that. So that opened up a new food opportunity for us to enjoy a different flavor profile. So that was the exciting part there. On a more clinical note, there's a number of different medicines that I take to help me cope with some of the conditions that I have
mm,
normally, namely the cardiac artery disease and some other medical concerns that I won't go into. And I found that since I've been on the medicine to address my high cholesterol level, I discovered there was a drug interaction.
oh,
Well,
okay.
as it turned out, I eliminated that one drug, which was more of a supplementary
Mm-hmm.
pharmacy product that it wasn't required that I take it. It was more of a convenience type thing. And I found that by taking that, it eliminated the back pain that I was having.
Hmm.
I was having back pain and pain in my hips. I thought it was due to something that I had done and had moved incorrectly,
Mm,
but I discovered that for me personally, that there was a drug interaction that was
okay.
going on there. One of the drug side effects of the cholesterol medicine I am taking is joint pain, muscle pain. It was exacerbated by the other medication that I was taking. It amplified.
Mm,
So, since having gone off that for about 2 weeks now, I would say I'm 95% pain free in my lower back and hip
mm.
now. So, that was a very good plus. And what that does is it opens up the opportunity for me to get more into the exercise programs that I want to do. And now that we're coming into spring, it's going to be more opportunity to
Mm.
get outside and do more things and take evening walks and to increase that type of activity too. So I'm very encouraged by that.
That's terrific. I feel like whenever you can pin down the cause of an unknown pain or something, it's just such a, um, it alleviates such a stress, especially as you're making lifestyle changes. If something like that comes up, it's like, oh, well, is that related to what I thought were healthy changes I'm making, or are there other interactions? So that's really good that you found that out. For this week, I thought we might discuss more of the mental piece behind some of these changes that you're making to your lifestyle. We can almost think of this episode as a sort of coaching session to think through
Sure.
those things. So, to jump right in, I thought it was really interesting how you had previously shared feeling a new sense of drive in this lifestyle change that you'd never felt before just from an individual diet. So, I wanted to ask if you have any thoughts about where that sort of intrinsic motivation you're feeling is coming from.
That's a great question. And as I indicated before, the primary motivation for this is my overall health associated with the diagnosis of the coronary artery disease. And that really hit home for me because if your circulatory system isn't operating properly, a lot of other systems aren't going to operate properly as a
Mm,
result as well.
That's so true.
So that's the core of your system right there. The heartbeat is the heartbeat of your system. And if that doesn't keep going, it's going to cause problems other areas too. Knowing that, it really has become and will become, continue to be the primary motivation for me to get healthy and to stay healthy. I can't explain a lot of the mental switches that have switched because of that. I addressed some of that previously, but it continues to stay there that this motivation is ever present in my mind not to break over. I broke over one time and I had a piece of bread with butter on it.
How dare you?
How, my goodness, the travesty. I enjoyed it. It was good, but I didn't beat myself up over it either. And that's a point I want to make is that no matter what lifestyle diet you go on to, don't beat yourself up
Mm,
if you go off of the plan. You can always get back on the plan.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with getting off onto a side rail, or as I've called it, going to the other side of town. There's nothing wrong as long as you come back, as long as you get back on course. And there's going to be times where I do go off course, and I know that. But forgive yourself and move on and don't stay in the past. That's what I see as part of another motivation moving forward is that my past is not going to define me. I've
Mm,
allowed my past to define me for way too long.
sure.
It's an opportunity to be myself, but to explore what my identity will be in the future and how I perceive that others view me too.
Yeah.
So it comes into an element of self image. I know that's a buzzword these days that is affected by a lot of social media
Sure. Yeah.
outlets that people view themselves through the lens of what they think others perceive them as. And it's exacerbated by the social media culture. Me, at my age, I don't pay a lot of attention to that. But being in a workforce, in a professional organization, and whatever that is, your peers do identify you in a certain way by virtue of how you project yourself too.
Mm,
In the past, I'm just going to say it, I've taken on the persona of a fat person.
Mm,
That's how I viewed myself because basically that's it. I am obese. That's part of my identity.
mm,
And I accepted myself that way. And I expect other people's to accept me as well that way. But there's a certain perception that you feel that people are judging you according to your body appearance.
mm,
And they are. At this point, even though it's nearing my senior citizen years, really don't get hung up on that. But I feel looking back in the past, and I have to leave the past alone, that has been a hindrance
mm,
to me moving into areas that and achieving in areas that I feel I should have been able to achieve in because of prejudices toward people of size.
yeah.
To put it politically correct, people judge a fat person and they pigeonhole them
Mm,
accordingly, and opportunities or the lack thereof are afforded according to body appearance. And I think that is absolutely wrong.
mm,
And it has happened to me, and I know it happens to people every day, everywhere, in every walk of life and every business. And it's so tough to get around that. And it hurts me because I've been hurt by it,
mm,
and I know it hurts other people. And I know we're in an age of political correctness, and it's not, you can't do it overtly,
sure.
but it happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. People are denied opportunities for prejudicial matters, and it doesn't matter what the prejudice is, but it applies to people who are obese too, not just because of other inequality factors that people perceive.
Yeah, that's a really difficult reality that we sometimes have to face. And it's unfortunate that there might be those preconceived notions or prejudices that other people have based on our appearance. And that's unfortunate. But I think what's really noteworthy is how you are extending grace to yourself first. And you're wanting to address your deeper identity through these things as well, which I think makes perfect sense as to why you feel more of a motivation in this lifestyle change that maybe wasn't addressed in previous bouts of trying a new diet. And it reminds me of something I heard from one of the plant based doctors that I had begun learning from a couple of years ago. His name's Dr. Clapper, and he gives this really great metaphor as to the power of choosing lifestyle change over temporary diets and how lifestyle change is a long term solution to a long term problem of maintaining health, whereas diets may just be a short term solution to that. And the metaphor he gives is that, say, every day you walk out and you bang your shin on a coffee table. And it's like, oh, that hurts. But, you move on. Maybe you take some pain medication, some ibuprofen or whatever for it, and it takes some of the pain away. But then the next day you get up and you just bang your shin on that again. And okay, like maybe you can put like some icy hot patches on it. You can do medication to help with it, but that source of the pain is still there because the next day, well, you get up and you bang your shin again. And that, in some ways, is similar to just trying a new diet, where it's like we're maybe going on a strict regimen of a new way to eat, but it's not addressing the source of the problem, which a lot of times has deeper roots than just what we're eating. A lot of times we may know, like, okay, yeah, I should be eating healthier, but there are deeper things within us about how we view ourselves, the perspectives we have that are unhelpful, and they keep us banging our knee, banging our shin into the coffee table over and over again to where we feel like we can't get out of a rut with a lifestyle or health challenge or health issues because there's again, it's that deeper identity based reason that we have to address. So I think that's so fascinating that you are tackling that head on.
And I think for me in the past that I've always viewed myself as a fat person
Mm,
because that's what I've been all my life. A lot of people who are obese and have food addictions will always view themselves that way, just kind of the way we're wired
Mm,
mentally. And I know there's a lot of people who struggle with that from body issue standpoints, that no matter how much weight they lose,
mhm,
they still feel I'm fat.
sure.
And those are other issues such as anorexia that people deal with. So there's always some sort of a body issue thing going on for me that I will always have to deal with. Even when I get to my goal weight, I'll have to struggle with I have to maintain this in order to maintain my body image once I get there. Maybe once I get there and through the habits that I've built through lifestyle, I'll stop viewing myself as a fat person. But in the past, even after I've lost the weight, I feel like I'm still a fat person.
Mm,
I just appear fit and trim now, but I'm still a fat person. Maybe it's just the way I'm wired. I
mm,
hope not to be in the future. I just need to stay on it long enough to get there and to stay there forever. It is still a mental struggle for me to feel that, yes, I am going to accomplish this, but I feel that this is my last
mm.
and only opportunity to do this. And if I don't, then my health is at risk.
Yeah, that's a beautifully honest answer, and I appreciate the vulnerability of it. And it is hard because it's like there's a period where we have to act despite our self view, and it's like, oh, well, I'm going to try this lifestyle change even though I don't feel like the type of person who would be able to achieve this. It reminds me of what James Clear writes in a book called Atomic Habits, and he describes that the habits that comprise our life in a way act as votes for the type of person we are. And what I mean by that is like if you struggled with your weight for most of your life, then those habits that had led you into that feel like it's like a whole mountain of votes casting or electing your identity as a quote unquote fat person. But as you begin to cast votes for a new identity, those become more prevalent in your mind where you have this evidence, this increasing body of evidence of like, no, like I'm not that person that I was before because I see that I'm able to move more freely. I'm able to enjoy food in a way that uh, leaves me feeling energized. And you begin to more readily see, again, like this body of evidence supporting the new identity that you're working toward. But it does take time, and it does, to circle back to your first point, it requires grace for ourselves. We have to be patient with ourselves and to allow ourselves to move into things not without struggle, but despite struggles that do exist.
Right. And again, this goes back to the core of our message, and that's put it to the test. So, yet another element within this lifestyle change that I'm going to put to the test is to see how my weight loss, the change in my body appearance, affects how others perceive how I perceive myself and how other people then react to me given my body image. So, 6 months from now, or even a year from now, we'll be able to test those items and see if there is any change in attitudes about myself,
Hmm.
toward myself, and also how others are treating me as a result of my lifestyle changes and
Mm-hmm.
my body appearance. It's going to be anecdotal evidence itself. It's my own evidence of how I perceive others treating me differently, if at all differently. Maybe there will be no change at all. And what that will tell me, I was myself all along,
Hmm.
regardless of my appearance, that I am my authentic, genuine self. But what I believe and what I'm projecting, my theory or hypothesis for put it to the test, is that there will be some sort of noticeable change that I will feel because of a new confidence that I have
Sure.
in myself, that other people will then treat me in a way that is different because of that. So there's a lot of factors going on here in my mind
Right.
of how this might play out. But that's a component of what I'm working with. And it's a component of what I'm putting to the test is to see how other people will treat and perceive my new lifestyle and my new appearance, which I am hoping and I know will happen because I've already seen
Yeah.
transformation in myself, be it very minor because I'm very early into the journey, but I've already noticed I'm going to have to get a new belt.
There you go.
So I've now been able to move to other clothes in my closet from my previous diet programs that I was wearing that are smaller than the previous clothes I was wearing. So I've moved to a different section in my closet and I'm wearing clothes that I have not worn for a couple of years. So I see there's some progress going on, and that's great. And that's going to be indicative of what I experience in the future. So that's another element that we will put to the test is a perception of other people toward me.
Yeah, and I think this whole process that you are going through with this lifestyle change, it requires a real resilience to walk that path, and you are gaining a resilience, and a new level of, I think, self-acceptance as you are finding lifestyles that are more conducive to the deeper values that you have about wanting to be healthy for yourself and your family. And I think you might actually find that the way that others perceive you, it's almost going to be secondary, because I think the level of self-acceptance and the confidence that you said you are already getting a feel of and will increase will come to a point to where how others perceive you won't feel like a limiting factor anymore, and it may not even be something you're as conscious of. Because I would imagine that, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I would imagine that there might be some passive voices in your head that are telling you how others are perceiving you because of your
Right,
appearance.
right,
And I wonder if moving forward, the metric that we'll use to determine whether putting this to the test impacts how others perceive you may not be anything noticeable that others are doing. It might just be the quieting of that voice telling you that others are perceiving you based off of your appearance,
right.
which I think that would be a beautiful thing too.
That's that's more I think that's more of it. I think you really hit on the actual crux of it
Mm,
is that I've fabricated things in my mind that I'm the one holding me back, not others.
mhm,
But I've displaced the blame mentally on my appearance and how others perceive me
hmm,
because of my appearance. And I'm making an excuse as a limiting factor. There's a whole lot of psychology going on with all of this. And a lot of it, because I've read motivational books, as you have in the past, and they all come back to self and being that it's self talk. What are you telling yourself?
right.
And those are the things that I've been telling myself. So this is very telling on me just by talking this through with you that I've come to the realization it's not always them
Hmm,
holding me back. I've concocted that in my mind that I'm held back because of my appearance. I think there is a certain truth to that, but I think the majority of it is actually my responsibility. And
hmm.
I want to thank you for pointing that out in a nice, compassionate way of circling back around and saying, hey, that may not be all the case. A lot of it may be some self judgment. I have fabricated a perception in my mind of what I think others think about me. And the reality is, and I've thought this a long time ago,
Hmm,
I worry too much about what other people think.
hmm,
And the fact of the matter is, and I think we can all kind of go by this if we search ourselves, the fact of the matter is, people think less about other people
hmm.
than people think they're thinking about them. And what I mean is, if I were to stop and think about how much other people are thinking about me, it's probably very little.
Mm,
Most people are too busy thinking about themselves
yeah.
and what other people are thinking about them than what they're really thinking about. They're not thinking about other people.
Yeah, it's a weird, like,
It's
circular
it
thing in our
is.
minds.
Yes, it is. And what I'm saying is trying to reiterate it so it'll make sense. People aren't thinking about me
Yeah.
unless I'm right there front and center or something to do with me that involves me. They're not spending their spare time thinking about, well, there's that fat guy at work and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. They're not thinking that. They're too busy and too self absorbed in their own lives to be concerned about someone else. And
Yeah,
I think that's where I'm at. But yet everybody sits and thinks, what is it that everybody else thinks about me? The fact of the matter is almost nothing.
yeah, it's this weird, backward thing to where the people that we're concerned maybe casting judgment on us are probably themselves thinking about who's casting judgment on them.
Exactly.
And fact is, we all write narratives in our mind for our identity and our lives and live according to them. And so, what I think is so powerful about the lifestyle change that you're doing is that you're saying, no, I actually have some control over the narrative of my life, and I want to pen myself as a character that isn't held back by these perceptions that I've had on myself. So I think that's incredible.